Hi, friends. I am Dr. Owais Khan, and I welcome you to today's episode where we will discuss about a concept that has the power to transform the way you communicate, the way you lead, and the way you build relationships, both in your personal and professional life. Today, we're exploring transactional analysis, a groundbreaking psychological framework that unveils the hidden patterns in our interactions. If you've ever wondered why conversations sometimes feel like power struggles, or why certain relationships seem stuck in cycles of conflict, this episode is for you. So sit back, relax, and let's embark on this journey together. Let me take you back to a corporate boardroom where a high stakes negotiation is taking place. The CEO, let's call him Raj, is presenting a new strategy to his executive team. One of his senior managers, Mira, listens intently but interrupts. Raj, we've tried this before, and it didn't work. Raj, visibly irritated, responds sharply. That's exactly the problem. You never embrace new ideas. The tension in the room thickens. Another executive, Amit, jumps in trying to mediate. Come on, let's be reasonable. We're all on the same team. What's really happening here? At first glance, it seems like a typical workplace disagreement. But in reality, what's unfolding is a classic case of transactional analysis at play. Developed by psychiatrist Dr. Eric Byrne in the 1950s, transactional analysis, or TELTA, helps us decode the hidden dynamics in human interactions. Byrne proposed that every conversation, every transaction between people follows a pattern influenced by psychological ego states. Picture this: each of us operates from one of three ego states at any given time: the parent, the adult, and the child. Let's break them down. First, we have the parent ego state. This is where we act based on rules, authority, and past conditioning. It's like having a voice in our head that says, this is how things should be. This ego state can be nurturing, offering guidance and care, like a mentor who genuinely wants to help. But it can also be critical, judgmental, rigid, and even punitive. Back to our story. When Raj snapped at Meera, he was speaking from his critical parent state, dismissing, judging, and asserting authority. Then we have the child ego state. This is our emotional, spontaneous, and often impulsive side. Marriage, it's where our creativity, curiosity, and fun reside. But it also houses our fears, insecurities, and emotional wounds from the past. Mira, when she dismissed the idea outright, was speaking from her adapted child state, the skeptical, defensive side shaped by past failures. And finally, we arrive at the adult ego state. This is where logic, rational thinking, and objectivity reside. It's where we assess situations based on facts rather than emotions or past experiences. Amit, the executive who tried to mediate, was operating from his adult state, seeking logic and balance amidst the conflict. Now, let's take this concept beyond the boardroom. Imagine you're at home and your spouse or partner says, "You never listen to me." If you respond, "You always complain, always complain. Nothing I do is ever enough for you." You're likely in your critical parent state passing judgment. If you reply with, "I don't know what to do anymore," you always find fault with me. That's your adapted child speaking, feeling powerless and victimized. But if you pause and say, "Tell me what's on your mind. I want to understand," you've shifted into your adult state, calm, rational, and solution oriented. And that simple shift is where the magic of transactional analysis lies. It allows us to recognize which state we're in and consciously move towards more constructive, meaningful interactions. Dr. Byrne didn't just stop at these ego states. He also introduced the concept of strokes, which are the units of recognition we give and receive. Ever noticed how a simple a good job or a pat on the back can boost someone's mood? That's a positive stroke. Likewise, constant criticism without encouragement creates a toxic environment. In workplaces, leaders who recognize and reinforce positive behaviors cultivate stronger, more engaged teams. The best managers instinctively understand that employees thrive when they receive affirming strokes, recognition, appreciation, and constructive feedback. But let's go deeper. Ever found yourself in recurring conflicts with the same people, playing out familiar arguments like a broken record? Dr. Byrne called these psychological games. These are unconscious, repetitive patterns where individuals get stuck in dysfunctional roles like the persecutor, the victim, and the rescuer. Consider a struggling teen. The manager constantly blames the team persecutor. The employees feel demotivated victims. And another leader tries to fix the problem without addressing the root cause, rescuer. This cycle repeats until someone steps out and operates from their adult state, breaking the cycle. So, how do we use transactional analysis in everyday life? Here's the key: recognize your ego state before you respond. Aim to stay in the adult state, rational, balanced, and solution focused. Give positive strokes, acknowledge and appreciate people. Identify recurring psychological games and step out of them. Leaders who master transactional analysis create healthier workplaces, foster stronger teams, and build trust effortlessly. Parents who understand these concepts nurture more independent and emotionally intelligent children. And in relationships, this awareness transforms conflicts into deeper understanding and connection. So, as we wrap up today's episode, I leave you with a challenge. The next time you find yourself in a tense conversation, pause. Ask yourself, which ego state am I operating from? And if it's not serving the moment well, shift into your adult state. Watch how it changes the entire interaction. That's the power of transactional analysis. And that's the power you hold within you. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this episode insightful, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Until next time, keep communicating with clarity and keep growing. In our next episode, which is going to be very interesting, we will discuss few daily life examples for the better understanding of transactional analysis. These examples will help you to improve your communication style and skills. Stay tuned to our channel. Stay tuned to our channel.
All right, get ready, because today we're going deep on this idea of transactional analysis.
Ooh, I like that, going deep.
Yeah, you know, all those conversations you have that leave you feeling a little confused
Oh, yeah,
or frustrated.
definitely.
Well, TA can really help us understand why those conversations went the way they did.
Yeah,
It's like it gives us this X-ray vision for communication.
I love that analogy.
So let's get into it.
Okay.
Our source material today is called Transactional Analysis Examples.
Right.
And it jumps right into this idea of ego states.
Yeah.
So the idea here is that we all have these three different parts of ourselves, or ego states.
Hmm.
And these come out in different ways in our conversations.
Yeah,
So we have the parent, the adult, and the child.
the famous three.
So these aren't just, you know, concepts up in the air somewhere.
Right.
They show up in the way we act, the way we talk, even our body language.
Yeah.
It's all right there.
Yeah, they really manifest.
So almost like each of these ego states is a different character that we play
Oh, I like that.
in this, you know, play of human interaction.
Yeah.
So let's start to break down each one of these characters.
Okay.
Let's start with the parent ego state.
All right.
What's the deal with that?
Well, think of the parent as like the voice of authority,
Okay.
you know?
Yep.
Rules all the shoulds and the shouldn'ts.
Right.
And a lot of it comes from how we were raised,
Oh, interesting.
the messages we got from our parents or caregivers. So, you know, sometimes it can come off as critical,
Oh, yeah.
judgmental,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's really nurturing
Yeah.
and protective.
I see, yeah.
It's really interesting how it can shift.
So it's that voice in our head that sometimes says, you should know better.
Exactly.
Don't forget your jacket.
Or don't forget to call your mother.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, even as we grow up, that parent voice can still be super loud,
Oh, for sure.
especially in certain situations.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the parent. What about the adult?
The adult.
That sounds like the one that's the most rational and level-headed.
I think it is. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
The adult is the problem solver,
Okay.
the one that processes all the data,
Mm-hmm.
focused on facts and logic.
Okay.
The part of us that can stay calm and objective even when things get really, really heated.
So it's the one that can kind of step back from the emotional drama
Yeah,
and be like, all right, how can we solve this?
totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the best way to handle this situation?
Yeah, okay.
So that's the adult.
All right, so we got the parent, we got the adult, and then there's the child.
The child.
This is one that's driven by emotion,
Yes.
impulses,
Intuition.
intuition.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
This is one that wants to just have fun and, you know, connect with people.
Totally. The child is all about that. Exploring, being creative, just like out there and spontaneous.
Right. And that's where our creativity comes from.
Totally.
But I imagine that this is also the part of us that makes us feel a little bit more vulnerable.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the child can also be the source of our fears,
Yeah, for sure.
our insecurities,
Mm-hmm.
that tendency to kind of overreact sometimes
Right.
or get defensive.
Yeah.
So it's a mixed bag.
So both joy and vulnerability.
Exactly.
All wrapped up into one.
Yeah. So the key to really healthy communication is finding that balance
Right.
between all these ego states, learning to tap into that adult
Mm-hmm.
when we need to be rational and assertive.
Right, right.
And letting the child come out and play when it's appropriate.
Yeah, and that's really where the magic happens.
Absolutely.
With TA, right?
Yeah.
Understanding how these all play together
Yeah.
in conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that our source material has some really good examples of how this actually works.
Definitely.
So should we jump into a scenario?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. How about this? A married couple is having a conversation about chores.
Okay.
Let's say I'm the wife and you're the husband.
Sounds good.
All right. Honey, the kitchen is a mess. You said you would clean up after dinner.
Oh, come on. It's not that bad. I'll get to it later.
Okay, well, I can already feel some tension here.
Yeah.
Let's pause there
Okay.
and analyze this.
All right.
What ego states are at play here?
Well, it sounds like you, as the wife, are coming from your critical parent ego state.
Okay.
You're pointing out a problem
Yeah.
and you're expressing some disapproval,
Oh, yeah.
almost like a scolding parent.
Right?
And I gotta say, your tone of voice probably wasn't very helpful.
No, probably not.
And you, as the husband, responded from your adapted child ego state,
Okay.
minimizing the problem, trying to deflect the responsibility.
All right.
A little bit like a kid trying to avoid chores.
Yeah. Okay. I see that.
Yeah.
So we got a parent-child interaction.
Classic, yeah.
And that usually doesn't end very well.
Rarely does.
No, I can imagine.
It often just leads to defensiveness, resentment, and just like a breakdown in communication.
So let's rewind
Okay.
and try that again, but see if we can get a different outcome.
Yeah.
This time, let's switch roles. I'll be the husband, you be the wife.
Okay, let's try that.
All right, so, honey, the kitchen is a mess. You said you would clean up after dinner.
I know, I'm so sorry. I got caught up with work emails. How about we tackle it together now?
Ooh,
What do you think?
that feels so much better.
Yeah.
It's still a direct request,
Yeah,
but it's just delivered in such a calmer, more respectful way.
totally.
What's different here?
Well, this time you, as the wife, were speaking from your adult state.
Okay.
You very clearly stated your observation,
Right.
your need without any blame or judgment.
Right.
And you, as the husband, responded from your adult state.
Okay.
You took responsibility, offered an apology, proposed a solution.
Yeah, like we just went straight to problem solving. We skipped all the emotional stuff.
Yes, that's the power of the adult state.
Wow. I'm starting to see how understanding this can really be helpful in our relationships.
It really can.
Yeah.
It gives us the awareness to recognize when we're slipping into those unhelpful, parent-child interactions.
Yeah.
And it gives us the tools to actually shift into a more adult way of communicating.
Okay, let's do another one.
Right.
Let's do a workplace situation this time.
Ooh, okay.
How about a boss and an employee who's always late to work?
Okay, good one, yeah. Let's see, I'll be the boss this time and you be the employee.
Okay, bring on the tough love.
You're late again. This is the third time this week. What's going on?
Oh, wow. I can feel the anxiety just hearing that.
Yeah, no, it's like bam, right in your face.
It sounds like you as the boss, you were really channeling the critical parent there.
I did go straight for it, didn't I?
Yeah.
But let's think about why that might not work so well.
Okay.
So when we come from this critical parent ego state, it can trigger that adapted child in the other person.
Right, right.
And then they just get defensive, make excuses, and they just feel like they're being told off.
So it doesn't really open up communication.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's more of a power struggle
Yeah, totally.
than a conversation.
Like who's in charge here?
Yeah. So the employee in that situation probably doesn't feel very comfortable sharing the real reason why they might be late.
No, absolutely not. So let's rewind a little bit.
Okay.
See if we can handle the same situation, but with a more adult approach.
Okay, let's see. Let's try that.
Okay, this time you be the boss and I'll be the employee.
Okay, I'm going to put on my understanding boss hat.
Let's see it.
I've noticed that you've been arriving late a few times this week. Is everything okay?
Oh, thanks for asking. Actually, I've been having some transportation issues, but I'm working on getting that sorted out.
Oh, see, that feels much better.
Yeah. Still direct, but you're
Yeah.
showing concern and you're asking an open-ended question.
Right, so there's space for me to explain what's going on without feeling judged.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I can respond from my adult, I'm giving you the real reason.
Right. You're taking ownership. You're not making excuses.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like this is a much better approach.
It creates trust
Yeah.
and respect.
Right.
So it opens that door to problem solving and finding solutions that work for both people.
Yeah. So much
Right.
better. Okay. So this highlights how that adult interaction, it just fosters a totally different environment,
Yeah.
one of trust and mutual respect.
For sure.
All right. So sometimes being the adult isn't just about being calm.
Right?
It's also about setting boundaries.
Yes.
Right.
But doing it in a respectful way.
Right. Okay. How about this? Let's try this one. A friend who always cancels plans last minute.
Ah, yes, the classic flaky friend.
I think we've all had one of those.
Okay, I'll be the flaky friend. You're the one who's been let down. Okay. Okay, all right.
Hey, so sorry. Something came up. Can we reschedule dinner for like next week?
Again, this is the third time you've bailed on me.
Oof. Okay. There's some frustration there.
Yeah.
I think we both know what's happening here.
Yeah, I think I slipped right into that critical parent,
Yeah.
just pointing out the pattern, being annoyed. And you're probably sitting there feeling scolded.
Like, ugh, here we go again. But even though you're right to feel that way, that approach might not get you where you want to go.
Yeah.
So let's rewind it and see if we can approach it from the adult perspective.
Okay.
Hey, so sorry, something came up. Can we reschedule for, like, next week?
Okay, so this is the third time we've had to reschedule. I really value our friendship, and it's important to me to feel like my time is respected. Can we maybe talk about what's been happening?
Yeah, of course. I realize I've been canceling a lot lately, and I'm going through a tough time right now, but I do want to spend time with you. Can I call you later and we can talk about it?
Wow. That feels so much more balanced.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging the pattern, you're expressing your needs really clearly, and you're inviting an open conversation.
Right, so I feel heard,
Right.
but not attacked.
Right, and you as the flaky friend can own up to it.
Exactly.
And then you can maybe work towards a solution together.
Totally.
So I think this is a good example of how, that adult state can help us have those tough conversations
Yeah.
with friends or family members, but without ruining the relationship.
For sure.
Okay, speaking of family, let's try one that I think a lot of people can relate to.
Okay.
A parent who has, really strong opinions about their kids' career choices.
Oh, the classic.
Yeah, I'll be the child and you be the parent.
All right, bring on the drama.
All right, let's do it.
Sweetheart, you should really think about becoming a doctor, just like your father. It's such a stable, respected profession.
Mom, I told you I'm not interested in medicine. I want to be an artist.
Oh, boy.
There it is.
I can feel the sparks.
Yeah, that was like my rebellious child going head to head with your nurturing parent.
Yes.
Even though, you're coming from a good place, it felt a little controlling.
Right, and a little dismissive of your dreams. And this highlights how even that nurturing parent, when it comes from a place of fear or outdated beliefs, it can really create friction.
Right, okay, so let's see how this could go differently if we both come from our adult states.
Okay, let's try it.
All right.
Sweetheart, you should really think about becoming a doctor, just like your father. It's such a stable and respected profession.
Mom, I appreciate your concern, but medicine really isn't for me. Art is my passion, and I'm really determined to make a career out of it. Can we talk about how I plan to make that work?
I understand. It's important for you to follow your dreams. Tell me more about your plans.
That feels so much more empowering.
Yeah.
You acknowledged her concern, but you also stood your ground.
Right, and you invited her into the conversation.
Yeah, I think this shows how that adult state can help us to bridge those generational gaps.
Yeah, for sure.
When there are really strong opinions on both sides, it's about respecting each other's perspectives and finding ways to support each other.
And that's where the adult really shines.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready for another scenario.
Yeah.
How about a situation where a lot of people, I think, feel intimidated,
Ooh, okay.
like asking for a raise?
All right. Good one.
Well, I'll be the employee and you be the boss, who everyone knows is really tough.
Okay, let's see how this negotiation goes.
All right, here we go. I was hoping that we could talk about my salary. I've been consistently exceeding expectations, and I believe my contributions, justify a raise.
Well, raises are determined by company performance and overall budget considerations.
Ooh, I can already feel myself shrinking a little bit.
It's a little bit of a shutdown, right?
Yeah, it feels like you, as the boss, you kind of came in with that controlling parent energy.
It was, yeah, a bit dismissive.
Yeah.
Didn't leave much room for discussion, so you probably felt like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, like my adapted child just wants to run and hide.
Exactly. So let's try that again, but this time, let's see what happens when we both approach it from that adult state.
Okay, let's try it.
All right, take two.
I was hoping we could talk about my salary. I've been consistently exceeding expectations, and I believe my contributions, justify a raise.
Okay, I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. I'm happy to discuss your performance and see what's possible given our current budget. Why don't we schedule a meeting to review your accomplishments and we can talk about your salary expectations then?
See, that's a totally different response.
Great, more open.
Yeah, you're acknowledging my request, you're willing to have a conversation, and you're even offering a specific next step.
Exactly.
It feels so much better.
And you, as the employee, you were clear about what you wanted.
Right,
Confident, but not demanding.
right. Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. It seems like no matter the situation, coming from that adult state really does help us to get a better outcome.
It really does. It's like the secret to good communication.
Right, it is.
But, the real skill is being able to not just know your own ego state, but also recognize what's going on with the other person.
Yeah, okay, so how do we handle those situations where the other person maybe isn't coming from their adult? What if they're, stuck in their critical parent, or they've totally shut down into their adapted child?
Well, that's where this idea of transactions comes in.
Okay.
So a transaction is basically like an exchange between two people's ego states,
Okay.
right? And when we understand the different types transactions, we can kind of predict how that interaction is going to go.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And then we can choose how we want to respond. So the simplest kind of transaction is what's called a complementary transaction.
Okay.
This is where one person's ego state kind of matches up with the other person's and the response comes from that same place.
Okay.
So if you ask a question from your adult and I answer you from my adult, we're good.
Right? Smooth sailing. So what happens when it's not so smooth?
Well, then we get into what are called crossed transactions.
Okay.
And this is when one person's ego state is aimed at a specific ego state in the other person, but they respond from a totally different place.
Oh, okay.
So let's say you make a suggestion from your adult and I get all defensive from my child.
Right, that's a cross transaction.
Exactly. And you're like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah, like we're talking, but we're not actually communicating.
Yeah, you're talking past each other.
Right.
And that's how we end up with misunderstandings, arguments. But the good news is, once you realize, oh, we're in a cross transaction here, you can actually change it
Okay.
by choosing to come back to your adult state.
Right, so even if the other person is being, reactive, you can still stay grounded and respond in a calm and rational way.
Exactly. You're not feeding into that child or parent energy.
Right.
And you might find that's all it takes to de-escalate things.
Wow, that's really helpful. So it's like being the grown-up in the room, even when everyone else is losing it.
You got it. And there's one more type of transaction that I think is worth mentioning. It's called an ulterior transaction.
Okay, what's that?
So this is when there's a hidden message
Oh.
beneath the surface.
So you're saying one thing, but you're really communicating something else.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it can be a little manipulative, but sometimes we do it without even realizing.
Oh, okay.
You might ask a question from your adult, but your tone of voice is totally critical parent.
Right, right. So those can be tricky because
Well,
it's like, what are you really trying to say here?
yeah, it creates confusion and it can erode trust.
So how do we deal with that?
Well, the best way is to just bring it out in the open.
Okay.
Be direct. Say, hey, I'm sensing there's something else going on here. Can we talk about it?
So it's all about being honest with each other.
Exactly, being real. And that honesty, that's how you build strong relationships.
Wow. I got to say, this deep dive into transactional analysis has been amazing.
Oh, I'm
I
glad.
have a whole new way of looking at communication
Yeah.
and how to handle those tricky conversations that
Yeah.
can, sometimes leave us feeling frustrated.
It's powerful stuff, right?
Yeah,
And this is really just the beginning.
right.
There's so much more to learn about TA. Have you ever heard of strokes?
Ooh, no.
We didn't even get into the different games people play.
I'm intrigued. So what's the one thing you hope our listeners will take away from this?
Just pay attention to your own ego states.
Okay.
Notice how you act, how you feel, how you react in different situations.
Right.
And then try to respond from that adult state, especially when things get tough.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. It's about taking responsibility for our communication and becoming more skillful.
Absolutely. And if you do that, you can really change your relationships for the better.
Well, that's a wrap on our deep dive into transactional analysis. We hope you've learned something new and had some fun along the way.
Yeah, we had fun, right?
Yeah, I did. This was great.
And remember, the learning doesn't stop here. Check out our source material, transactional analysis examples, and keep practicing these ideas in your own life.
Until next time, keep communicating consciously and authentically, and don't forget to tap into that adult.
This is The Deep Dive. Signing off.